You ever use a system that just gets you? Like, where everything actually makes sense and works like it's supposed to? That's the vibe with Empower EMR from MW Therapy. It's built specifically for physical therapists, so you're not stuck Frankensteining a bunch of software that was designed for other industries together. Empower is your one-stop shop from scheduling and billing to reporting and even built-in marketing. The real magic? The automation. This thing works with you, filling your schedule, reminding patients, and keeping everything moving behind the scenes. Clinics are raving about how fast the switch was and how much time they're saving. If you're tired of fighting your EMR and ready to work with a system that lifts you up instead of dragging you down, head to mwtherapy.com and schedule a demo. Empower, the upgrade you didn't know you needed.
Money monetizes once and skills and relationships monetize forever. This was something that I was taught younger when I was a mentor, and it completely changed how I approach life and business in general. I think most people are familiar with the concept of the infinite game, and I can't echo that statement enough in regards to your life and your business. Is like when I talk to people that have been in business with other people for 40, 50 years, it changes how you approach every interaction you have, with that's whether a partner or a customer. And so, I would just echo that statement again. It was advice that was given to me, and I hope it resonates with somebody else of money monetizes once, but skills and relationships monetize forever.
He started in the clinic with goniometers and gait belts and ended up building websites and branding strategies that make Google do a double take. Today's guest made the leap from OT to full-on entrepreneur, helping healthcare pros go from best kept secret to booked out and branded. Whether you're a PT, OT, chiro, or acupuncturist, if you're tired of relying on word of mouth and living in that feast or famine cycle, this guy is your marketing medicine. From high converting websites and SEO that actually works to branding that makes your ideal patients say, finally, someone who gets me. He's here to break down the biggest mistakes clinicians make when trying to grow and how to fix them. He's a podcast host, content machine, and yes, a one-time stand-up comic. Don't worry, we won't make him do a tight five. Not today, anyway. Live from Austin, Texas, the land of tacos, tech, and trailblazers, and Matthew McConaughey, meet the man helping health pros build brands that actually convert. Welcome, Corey Hibben, to the PT Pintcast. On live radio, and it's hard to come back from that. Corey Hibben, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, brother. Glad to be here.
We are both recording in our kitchens, which is my favorite room in the house.
Yeah, you might see some cats run by, but
it's okay.
Nobody will be cooking, so that'll be good.
That's okay. It sort of is like when people say you plan a house party and you're like, oh, we're all going to hang out in my living room. I'm like, people just gravitate towards the kitchen. The kitchen is the heartbeat of the house. Where do you actually live?
Austin, Texas.
Yeah. One of us is smart and lives in Austin, and the other one lives in upstate New York. So right now in April, as we record, it's like, it's warm. I'm like, it's 49. It's not warm. It's warmer than it was, though. So
I have a buddy that lives in Winnipeg. He's very well known on the Instagram page. He has like some, I don't know, a couple million followers because he does a daily cold plunge. You might have seen him. His name's Jordan, but he's a buddy of mine. And I just saw his video the other day because he's been cold plunging for, I think, like, I don't know, 700 days or something like that. And it's still like snowing, and there's still snow on the ground. And I was we're well past that.
Yes. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So you and I have similarities and differences, and I like similarities and differences. So if someone asks, like, Corey, what's your superhero backstory? Like, what did you do? What are you doing now? And like, how did those two things come to be? How did those two things come to cross?
Yeah, I'd say there's almost three things. I live at the intersection between business, marketing, and healthcare is really where I live. And how I got there was that I thought I wanted to do the healthcare thing. I used to work as an occupational therapist. I used to practice on the front lines, outpatient orthopedics, the whole rigmarole. And through sucking at that long enough, I eventually realized that I'm actually really not good at patient care at all. And that's not where I should be. But I'm way better at, as I was saying the other day on my own podcast show, dicking around on the internet and doing like the business.
It's a skill.
It is. It's why I'm way better at the business and marketing side of things and being the behind the scenes and supporting those who are on the front lines and actually seeing patients versus actually seeing patients. Like a good day for me, which is polar opposite to my girlfriend. My girlfriend is a chiropractor, and so she's seeing 50, sometimes 100 a day, sometimes.
Wow.
And and like she's a lot of people, a lot of interactions. A perfect day for me is like if I have less than 2 human interactions a day, great day for me. Like the days that she's home and I'm still working. Just this happened just the other day. She's like, "You're so quiet." Is like, "There's something on your mind?" And I was like, "No, you're normally gone. I just don't talk like all day, and I love it."
This is what every day looks like when you're not
exactly.
But obviously, that says something, that she had a perception of what your day was like, and then she saw it and was like, "Huh, that's a good insight for both of you." I think
definitely. Yeah, and she's much more aware of that now. Is that I just spend a lot of time up in my head, which is she spends a lot more time like in the area of presence of other people, and so it's just a completely different way to spend your day.
I'm probably somewhere between both of those things, because I know like whenever I start to talk to people after like the work day is over or whatever, they're like, "Oh, you haven't been around people." And I'm like, "How can you tell?" And they're like, "You haven't stopped talking." And you're like, "What do you think about this? What if you did this and this? And how about if you did the opposite of that? What if we did that? Would that be a good idea?" And they're like, "I don't know what you're talking about, because you're talking about it at 150 miles an hour." So I think me is like, it needs to be like in chunks. Like I do like that thing where I'm going to go sit on the couch with the laptop and bang out a bunch of things. But yeah, for me too, it was patient care was, I didn't think I was good at it. People said, "You're fine, you're great." Like, and I was like, I didn't feel good at it. And that made me feel guilty. It's like, I went to school for this. Like, and it's an admirable profession. So for me to go to school for go back to school as a second career person, to go there and then to get there and be like, "Oh man, I don't love it." Like maybe like there was definitely was there guilt for you? Is there still guilt for you when you're like, "I'm an OT," and people are like, "That's cool," and you're like, "But I do this." Like, do you have guilt?
Yeah, I call it sunk cost fallacy is what it is. I was just, it's funny. I was literally just explaining this the other day to my girlfriend, is that I'm feeling it again now, is because every time we put a lot of time and energy into anything, whether it's like this podcast show or a career or a relationship is the most common one, is that when you realize that you need to take the next step into the next thing, the pain you're feeling is sunk cost. You feel like you wasted time and energy and resources and money and brain power. And the reason it's called a fallacy is because it is a fallacy, is because you needed to go through the process of that path to realize you're on the wrong path. And we do it all the time. And like I was saying, I'm feeling it again right now, even with the work that I do now. Is I was previously a lot more broad, seeing like anything from like health coaches and all the way up to like doctors and tech clinics. And now I'm just becoming way more focused and picking a very specific niche, predominantly PTs and chiropractors. And I'm feeling it again because I feel like I put all this time into all the other professions, and now realizing like, damn, okay, had I done this from the beginning, I'd be a lot farther along, yada, yada. But again, it's all a fallacy. It's like, It's just how you feel. It's not the reality of the world.
Well, and I love the fact that you bring up logical fallacies, sunk cost fallacy being one of them. We do it with, I mean, I'm guilty, like relationships, like you said, like, well, I've put so much into this that I got to see if it's got to go somewhere. And it's like, it's as corny as it sounds. It's like, sometimes the journey was the destination. You've ridden this thing out and there's nothing there for you anymore. And the longer you stay, the answer is leave or do the different thing. But as much as I know that, I still I get people who are like, "Why don't you do a couple days a week? What if you did 1 day a week patient care?" And I'm like, that doesn't excite me. I wish it did, because I think I would have to answer this question as much, but I'm like, it doesn't. Like, what I usually do too is I get real excited. I'm like, that feeling when you like look at your schedule and you're like, look at these different patients and you're like, this is my tomorrow. And like, how excited, that feeling when you get excited, they go, yeah, I go, I don't get that. I don't get it. I'm sorry. But if I look at a calendar, it's like, you're going to do these different interviews and you're going to do these phone calls and you're going to do this whatever, I get excited. And I'm only on this rock for a couple of years more. I'm halfway done probably, right? I'm in my 40s. But like, do the thing that excites you and ignore everybody else. This is an ego problem. I know that. I'm guilty of it.
It's funny. I recently learned about this idea of growing into pain. So this ties exactly what you're talking about in terms of seeing your schedule and seeing patients that you don't want to spend time with versus seeing like interviews or conversation or even podcasts like this that does get you excited. So the concept, and this is exactly what I experienced when I was working in healthcare as an OT, was that what I eventually realized, it took me forever to figure this out, but was I was really bad at the marketing side in terms of growing my practice, because I didn't want more patients, because I didn't want to see more patients.
That is deep.
And so like it's true for everything, is that we don't grow into pain, right? There's this thing called the pain line. Dan Martell talks about this all the time. Maybe you've heard of it, but essentially it's like when you feel yourself not or stagnating or not doing something, it's a big part of that is very likely is because like you don't want to grow into whatever that thing is. And I've seen it in my own business happen again and again, is that when more clients or more customers, or in the case of a practitioner, more patients to you feels like more pain, that tells me that like the you rather need to delegate, you need to outsource, you need to somehow get something off of your plate to allow space, to draw space between like where you are and where that pain line is, to allow you to grow to the next level. Otherwise, you're just going to keep banging into it, and you don't want to go there, so you're not going to do it. And you just self-sabotage is all that ends up happening.
Well, thank you guys for listening into Corey and Jimmy's therapy session for the first 10 minutes. At least that's the funny part, is like, I don't need Corey to solve it. We don't need anybody to solve it. I just want to be like, do you also, I'm not the crazy one, right? Like this, other people feel this way. And I talked about this with a woman who was a physical therapist, and now she's been on ESPN for a decade, and she's on the fantasy. She does fantasy sports. That was her whole job. Like, she was a PT. Now she's on ESPN a dozen times a month during football season, and she's got this crazy podcast. She's on ESPN. She was going in a different direction. She was going from PT to TV or radio. So I'll talk to her, and I was like, I was in radio for 15 years, and I now want to be a PT, but now I'm realizing there's a mix. I'm like, but my point is, in bringing her up is like, who else was I supposed to talk to that actually understood that? Like 5 years ago, nobody. Now that there's more of these things, and everybody's got podcasts and YouTube and all that, there's more people that could understand it. But for a while there, I was like, dude, I'm weird. I know, like, radio DJs shouldn't become PTs, and then all of a sudden become a PT radio DJ again. It doesn't make any sense until it does. And it doesn't need to make any sense to anybody else. It only needs to make sense to you.
Yeah. And it only ever makes sense in retrospect anyways, right? Always. Hindsight 2020 is like, there's a great quote by Matthew McConaughey, and he says, we're really bad at knowing what we want, but we're really good at knowing what we don't want. So most of figuring things out is via trial and error. As unfortunate as that sounds, is like, there's the only shortcut I would say is like having a mentor, somebody that maybe understands your path that you're walking might be the only shortcut. But even then is like, I don't know about you, but I know me personally is like, I still need to put my hand on the fire. I don't know why, but I mean, that's just how I learn, I guess. But yeah.
I thought you were going to say the Matthew McConaughey quote was all right.
That's a good one too.
It is a good one. All right. So you mentioned that you worked with a decent size people, right? Doctors with tech, whatever. And now you're narrowing down, which I think is good. Explain to everybody what do you get to do with those people, or I should say with those people? Like, what do you actually do?
In short, I help them break free from the feast and famine cycle. So 99.9% of healthcare professionals, if you were to ask them, how do you generate leads? How do you get patients? I can almost guarantee you the majority of them will tell you word of mouth referrals and local events. That's almost what every single one of them will tell you, which is fine. Those are great. Those are effective. Nothing wrong with those. Those should always be a backbone of a strategy. But the problem with those is they're very time intensive, and oftentimes they're incredibly unpredictable. And so you find yourself like, you do a bunch of events, you do a bunch of networking, you maybe get some referrals this month, and all of a sudden things drop off, and then you do it again and again and again and again. So a big part of what we do is we help people with more consistent lead generation. And this often happens, what I would call the Google trifecta. So essentially, if you're a local business, which is predominantly what we work with, is like PTs or chiros in the local area, is like the three things you want to guarantee consistent leads is you want to have a well-optimized website, SEO related type things. You want to have paid ads, and you want to have a good Google business profile, which means like reviews and fully filled out. If you have those three things, I can pretty consistently tell you, like, depending on where you live, is that we can almost guarantee you that you're going to have a consistent flow of leads through those things, because those are attracting essentially people that are seeking your services. They're seeking out like chiropractor near me or PT near me. If you're going to be ranked at the top, you're going to be the one that's selected and people are
Right.
going to choose you. And so that's a big part of what we do, honestly, in a nutshell.
All right, let's talk about something that sometimes I feel like if you ask 100 people in marketing, communications, whatever it is that you want to call it, what you and I do similarly but differently, the word is brand, right? I feel like if you ask 100 people like what it is, I'm not going to ask you what it is because we could pontificate for, you can just talk, I wind up talking myself in a circle. But what goes into a brand that actually attracts patients, in your opinion? Like and the flip side of that question would be like, what are providers usually getting wrong with brand?
Perfect. Great question. I mean, I have a perfect case study that literally just happened. So before brand, you have to understand positioning. So a brand is only as good as the position it is in the market. For example, I recently worked with a physical therapist who, where is he? Somewhere in Tennessee. I can't remember what city it was, but they were this perfect example of a little bit more broad, a little bit more just serving the local area. There, for the most part, were doing pretty good. They were creating decent content, and they were getting their Google business reviews, and they were getting referrals, and they were doing events, and they were doing what would seem like a lot of good things. But they were missing this piece that you're hitting on perfectly, is this idea of brand. And really what it came down to is like they weren't really positioned in the market to be the obvious choice for somebody seeking their services. So what we did is we essentially figured out, okay, they loved working with runners specifically. They loved the running clubs. The practitioners within the clinic like running. Their patients got the best results when they came in with running issues. So we basically positioned them as the go-to experts of running physical therapy in their local area. And then we created an entire brand around that specifically. So if you go to their website, you'll see that it's like people running. All the vocabulary is talking about running. They have testimonials about runners that were able to have an IT band injury and get back to running. And so we basically just created the brand that would most resonate with that specific person. And now they're like known as the PT runners within their local area. And that brand precedes itself. So like now if there's anybody in the local area at a run club, it's a very obvious choice subconsciously or consciously in their brain. They're like, you should go to XYZ because they work with runners with knee injuries or whatever the hell the issue is. But yeah.
Can you have multiple brands in one clinic though? So I have an opinion on this. So it's like, if you have 6 PTs, right? You don't all need to be the running PT. So I think somebody said it way better than me, so I'll just steal it. Instead of have a house of brands, it was a branded house. So they were like, you came here, like you understood physical therapy means this sort of ambiguous term, which is like health or something. And then in that, when you got to their website, it was, tell me about you. Are you so you could see sort of elements visually and you knew which way to go because they had 3 PTs who like to help runners and 2 PTs that like to help weightlifters. It was like, this is a place for athletes. And then then go a little deeper, which is runners are over here. We got you. And weightlifters are over here and the CrossFitters back there and you're good. All right, you didn't start your practice to become a full-time billing detective, right? So what if you could let Athelis RCM take that off your plate? It's AI-powered revenue cycle management that actually gets you paid faster with fewer denials and way less stress. Athelis plugs into your EMR, no messy tech drama, and it starts working immediately. Denials managed, payments tracked, insights clear as day. You get a real-time dashboard that shows you where your money is, what's working, and where you can improve. If you're ready to stop chasing dollars and start collecting them, it's time to check out Athelis RCM. Go to athelis.com and book that demo. That's ATHELAS.com. Your future self will thank you.
Yeah, I think definitely. And I think it also depends on what you want to build as well. Because like to play off of that a little bit is that if you so like let's say you have a practitioner within your clinic that is really good in maybe they're not great at running, maybe they're more interested in, we'll say, CrossFit, or because they actually, the same clinic does, this is a great example actually, so this exact same clinic also loved working with CrossFit athletes. And so there is a piece within that where like if there's a clinician within that clinic that really loves working with CrossFit athletes and they're willing to quote unquote build that brand within the organization, 1,000%. Like that can for sure happen. Like, I mean, you see this with corporate companies all the time, is like, you can be under a corporate umbrella brand, but if you love rock climbing and you want to build an association with your name and your practice personally with other rock climbers, you can really definitely do that. Like my favorite analogy, I know you didn't want to play this game, but like my favorite analogy of like understanding what a brand is like, I just call it an association. That's really all it is. Like oftentimes people just use the reputation, but it's like, what's the association that you want to have at the end of the day? And that can be at the individual level of somebody within the business, or that could be at the more umbrella level of like, what do we represent within an umbrella? But it's just creating an association in someone's brain. And I think the most important thing for like anyone, for the listener to understand, is that everything you do creates an association in somebody's brain. Every piece of content, every color of a logo that you choose, every interaction you have with a patient, these are all created an association or a reputation in someone's brain. And so it's like, just be conscious of that. So like, if you really want to attract a certain person, is like, well, then do things that certain person would want to be associated with, right? Like that's how I explain it anyways.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that is innate, I think, to marketers or communicators. In radio, we used to have Keith at the radio station I worked at last in Northeast Pennsylvania. We had Keith, and we did that stupid exercise where we built an avatar. We knew everything about Keith. And the point wasn't the exercise of the avatar building. And, we picked a local high school that Keith went to, and he married his high school sweetheart, and he likes these bars and these bands and yada, yada. The fun part was 6 months later, when we had a really hard question about what to do next or how to present this, we just said, would Keith think this is cool? And as dumb as I thought the exercise was as a 22-year-old listening to my boss then, 6 months later is when I actually got it. I was like, oh, I'm able to easily make this decision. Keith would think this is stupid. So the answer is don't do it. But don't get in our own head like, okay, I'm going to put my marketing hat on. I didn't. I put Keith's hat on and said, would Keith think this is cool or lame? The answer was lame. Don't do it. Don't even try to do it. Do something different.
I've even heard of people going as far as printing out a billboard, or like a cutout. I mean, not a billboard, like cutout of the person, quote unquote, and then having that in their office or whatever it is, just as a constant reminder. Actually, there's a company that I know very well that did this. So a lot of the websites we would build on is a platform called Webflow, and I was able to meet the founder. Super cool guy. He came to Austin for South by Southwest, but that was one of the things that he talked about on a keynote that he did, was that they literally, like, when they started Webflow, the company, which is, I think, evaluated at like, God, it's a lot. I don't want to say B with a billion, but I could have swore that was the last I heard. But they were able, like, how do you do that? And it was like, well, we got very clear on our avatar to the point where our mentors had us print out a cutout of who it was. And every time we had a decision, like you said, we looked at the cutout and we go, what would they want? And that's how we made our decisions.
Yeah. And it's stunningly, it feels like an oversimplification, but it's not. Because in radio or in website design, without Keith or whoever their avatar was, we don't exist, right? It's just us talking to the void, or that person offering a bunch of tools that no one uses. So if you stop paying attention to that customer, and I think that's a bad word in healthcare sometimes, seen as it is. Well, customers, like, I'm the expert. I'm here to tell you what you need. And that consumer or customer is going to go, oh yeah? And they're not going to stick around, or they're going to come and not like that experience because you built it for the wrong person. You built it for you. To me, that's a big mistake.
Yeah. And it's especially in the healthcare industry is, I mean, like, if you look at any giant healthcare conglomerate, that's exactly what you described is exactly how it feels for most people. Yeah. Is that they don't even feel like they are the ones that getting the care. It feels like I'm just doing whatever I'm supposed to be told, and here's this prescription, and just follow this rudimentary thing, and no question why no one's getting better. Shocker. Yeah, you shouldn't be surprised. You talk a lot about websites needing to convert, not just look pretty, right? So let's talk about must-have, because I want someone who's listening right now to go, ooh, I got like 2 out of 3 of those, but not the third. So what are must-have elements you think every clinic-specific website needs to move someone from browsing to booking and walking in the door? Yeah. So when I first got into this industry, it was as an OT transitioning into my first job gig or whatever was essentially freelance website design. And in my brain, I had this idea that like, you just need a pretty website. And so I'll never forget my very first client that I actually worked with. She was a health coach in my local city. I actually just happened to find her on Google Maps, and I shot her a cold message and I was like, hey, I think I can do some things to your website to make it look better, blah, 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 whatever. And she was super sweet. I still talk to her to this day. She's an incredible human. And I did some things to her website. And to be super transparent with you, this was about 5 years ago. It is very unlikely that anything I did even remotely drove business to the bit. No. Like it, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I made some changes. It might have looked better, but in regards to like actually affecting what everybody wants, which is revenue within their business, not a chance. And it's because like at the time I didn't understand that like a website is just a tool at the end of the day. And it's like every scenario is different in how you use the tool. And so I would say there's really 3 things that we look at on every single website, and it's traffic, conversions, and trust, essentially. And there's many ways to attack these problems, but for the most part is if you don't have anybody going to your website, kind of back to my example about having just a pretty website, who cares? Okay. This is literally like having a clinic in the middle of Bodunk, Alaska with no road to it. Great. It's awesome that you have a clinic there. Maybe it looks super awesome, but if nobody's going to it, it is a complete waste. And that's what most people do. And that was honestly what I thought about in terms of websites as well, is that I thought it was like the classic build it and they will come. Promise you they will definitely not come. So the first thing you understand is like, do you have traffic to your site? Now that we have traffic to the site, the next thing you need to consider is like, how do we convert it? The most basic thing that anybody can do, which is funny to me because I audit websites all the time. And it's like literally the simplest thing that you could do to just, if you did nothing else but this thing that I'm about to tell you next, I guarantee you would increase in conversions, assuming you have traffic to your website. And you need to answer 3 questions when somebody immediately adds on your website. It's what do you do? What problem do you solve? And what action do you want people to take next? Example, that previous example that I gave you before in terms of the physical therapist, we do physical therapy in, I think they're in Knoxville, Tennessee. We help runners get back to running. That's a bad example, but something along those lines. Click this button to schedule an appointment, book a call, download this lead magnet, whatever it is, right? Very simple. 70% of traffic never makes it past the top of a website anyways. So everything else you do on the website is probably super cool. Other than that, it's probably not that important. And then the other thing too is the third thing I was going to hit on is trust, is that there's no arguing that the strongest, lever that you can pull in trust building is some sort of reviews, testimonials of some form. This could come in Google business reviews where you literally put like how many reviews you have on the website. This could come in people like with a video. This could come in text. Not all trust and testimonials are created equal. So it's really important to remember that, is that if you just have a text on there, people are less likely to trust it if you think about your own shopping behaviors versus if you have like a third party on there, like Yelp reviews or Google reviews or something that's on a third party, way, way, way higher trust because they know that it's actually a legitimate human and was probably vetted on some level. But if you have those 3 things, guaranteed that you're going to convert more leads.
Like that felt actionable, and everybody likes 3s, like Stooges and Blind Mice. But honestly, like you get it. Like it's same as like exercise prescription or task. It's like if we give them 20 things to do, they're going to do 0. If you give them 3, you got a chance. So that's what I like. So you did mention that feast or famine cycle. What's one low-hanging marketing move someone might make this week to get momentum? Just one simple thing. I mean, because changing the website isn't simple, right? Well, I should say it's simple, but it's not easy. That's going to take some time and investment, and you should. But what's something quick that they could do? Give me something like candy, something short and sweet.
I mean, this might be an amazing thing for some, and this might be lame for others, but I would argue that, again, I audit a lot of clinics and a lot of practices, and this is one of the most like low-hanging fruit in terms of it blows my mind when people don't do this. A well-filled out Google business profile. It's honestly like, it's relatively simple. You literally just like fill it out, make sure you have some decent photos in there, make sure you have your name and your address and your hours, make sure it looks friendly. You can even do these things on there. A lot of people actually don't know this, is that you can actually post updates on Google business profiles. And so you could do this like just like social media. Like you could literally do this once a week, and this actually helps rank you higher on Google. And one of the biggest factors by far in terms of getting ranked on Google is literally just having reviews. Assuming you've been around for a little bit, having some way to get reviews or reaching out to old clients or customers to get those reviews. It's like number one, I would say set up the business profile, like completely fill it out, and then spend the rest of the week getting at least 50 Google reviews as fast as humanly possible. That's such a low hanging fruit. It's unbelievable.
Love that. Listen, all right. You've interviewed a lot of successful clinic owners. You've talked to a lot of them. What's one thing they all seem to get about marketing that sets them apart? Is there like a common thread amongst the people that are successful? Is there something that you can, I don't know, spot in the first 5-10 minutes of listening to them and sort of teasing things out that you're like, okay, we got a chance here?
Man, that is such a good question. Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were mentioning earlier of understanding who you serve. And I can speak from like my own pains and struggles, and even like a lot of the people that I talk to, is that if you have, here's some red flags, is like, if you have multiple businesses, I'm concerned about you. If it's like, what do you do? And you talk about like the 7 different services that you offer, I'm concerned about you, right? If it's like, how consistently are you engaging with your clients and customers? And it's like once in a while, I'm concerned with you, right? It's like really what we're looking for is just to be so hyper niche focused on who we serve and what specific problem that we help them solve. Every other challenge that most people deal with gets 1,000 times easier in terms of like, what sort of marketing should we do, or how should we position ourselves in the market, or what sort of content should we create, or who should we be reaching out to, or what sort of events should we attend? Is like all those questions get so much easier and so much simpler when you're hyper focused. And I know we already talked about it early on this episode, and it seems very rudimentary, but it always shocks me how few people, like some people will tell you, like, I think people want to believe that they have it figured out, but they haven't actually put in the hours to really figure it out and to really have conversations with them and to really listen to and understand their pain points. And like, even if you didn't, like, here's a real simple way to figure it out. AI. Go on AI and be like, here's my person that at this moment that I think I really want to help and serve. What are all their challenges, pain points, and struggles? That's a really good place to start. And now you actually have some idea of how to help them.
It's a great sounding board. I like that. All right, we're going to do speed round. Corey, are you ready for speed round? Let's do it. All right, we're going to do hit or hype. Corey, I'm going to give you common healthcare marketing trends, and you got to call out whether they're worth the juice, a hit, or just overhyped noise, hype. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, number 1, Instagram Reels are the best way to grow your practice. Is that a hit or a hype?
Total hype.
All right. It's nice, right? I'm sure it could be part of the mix, but it can't be I said best. It can't be the best.
I know this is rapid fire, but can I spit? I want to spit for 1 second on that. So there's a difference between interruption marketing and capture marketing, essentially. And so social media is a great form of like interrupting somebody. Somebody's scrolling and they're like, oh my God, there's a clinic near me. That's really interesting, but I don't really care that much because I'm doing other things and I just want to be entertained. Versus capture marketing, which is like the SEO and the Google business profile things, where it's like somebody's like searching to solve a problem, way easier to convert than a social media. Social media works, but it's a different strategy. It's much more long tail. There's also a lot more nurturing. Versus capturing is like somebody wants you like today and they're willing to call you. Different. Way easier to convert. So
different. All right, number 2 on the list. Your logo, Corey, is the most important part of your brand. Is it the most important part? Hit or hype?
Hype. Nobody cares.
Yeah, you care. I think the owners care. And they're like, well, what does this image say about me? It's like people barely look at it. I think a good one, like once you find it, I think the good one is the one you've used for a while, as long as it's not bad. And bad is subjective.
Yeah, nobody cares.
All right, here's the next one. Hit or hype. Google reviews are better than SEO. You've got to pick one. Was Google review better than SEO? One's got to stay, one's got to go.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because like back to my earlier point, social proof is the biggest factor in today's world. People are so sick of being like scammed, and trust is a huge issue for a lot of people. And Google reviews is by far one of the highest ranking factors for trust building. And so I mean, all the clinics that I work with, the ones that are crushing it and like pushing 7 figures, have like gone hard on getting like hundreds of Google reviews for a reason.
Smart. Hit or hype. TikTok is where all the new patients are, Corey.
Depends on your business.
Ooh, I like the, you can go depends. You can go depends.
I mean, if your patients are young, I mean, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Last one. Email marketing is dead. Hit or hype?
Total hype. There's not a chance. It's still the most powerful marketing by far.
It's deep. And if you give value, you can get attention. I love I love these two phrases, pay attention, spend time. And everybody's like, they're obvious. I'm like, it's pay and spend, attention and time. You got to give one to get the other, and it's got to be worth it. It doesn't mean monetary all the time either. Pay attention. The pay and pay attention could be like good information, a 32-minute podcast episode that felt like I got more information than the time I needed to give to get it. So it's email marketing. I agree. Certainly not dead. Corey, last thing we do on every episode is called the parting shot. Last chance for a mic drop moment, soapbox statement, anything. What do you want to leave with the audience as we wrap up?
Man, I guess I wasn't prepared for a mic drop moment. And you can
repeat like an adage or something you'd want on your tombstone. You can repeat something you said before. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be brand spanking new.
Money monetizes once and skills and relationships monetize forever. This was something that I was taught younger when I was a mentor, and it completely changed how I approach life and business in general. I think most people are familiar with the concept of the infinite game, and I can't echo that statement enough in regards to your life and your business. Is like when I talk to people that have been in business with other people for 40, 50 years, it changes how you approach every interaction you have, with that's whether a partner or a customer. And so, I would just echo that statement again. It was advice that was given to me, and I hope it resonates with somebody else. Of money monetizes once, but skills and relationships monetize forever.
Love it. Corey, if someone was like, hey, listen, this guy knows what he's talking about, where do I go connect with him? Where do you want to send people?
Well, I'm stupidly active on LinkedIn. So if you have a if you have a LinkedIn account, I'm obnoxiously active on that platform. So that'd be super cool. Otherwise, I have a podcast of my own. Basically, everything you can find is on my personal website, which is CoreyHigh.com.
All right, Corey Hibben, appreciate the time. And I feel like having Corey back on the show, and we might actually have an Austin trip in the near future this summer. And if we do, I don't know if you smell that, but I smell live podcast.
I'm in. I'll bring you on. We'll talk.
Sounds great. Corey, thanks so much for stopping by, man.
Appreciate it.
You ever wonder how those rock star clinicians seem to just know what to do? Like they've got a sixth sense in clinic. Well, here's the secret. Brooks IHL. Their residency and fellowship programs for PTs, OTs, and SLPs are where clinical skills meet elite mentorship. We're talking 150 hours of one-on-one mentoring, lab training that's immersive, and real-world experience inside Brooks Rehabilitation's top-tier system of care. And unlike some programs where you have to put your career on pause, Brooks IHL pays you a full salary while you level up. Their grads consistently outperform national board pass rates, and most of their mentors, they've been through the program themselves. If you're serious about being a clinical expert, this is the move. Go to brooksihl.org and check out all 10 program tracks. The next level of your career is waiting at Brooks.